Long ago, the land of Israel had turned away from God. People had stopped worshiping the true God and instead prayed to a false god called Baal. Their king, Ahab, and his wife, Queen Jezebel, encouraged this. They built temples for Baal and even punished those who still followed God. But one man stood against them. His name was Elijah, a prophet chosen by God. He was brave and full of faith. One day, God gave him a message to deliver to King Ahab. Without hesitation, Elijah went to the grand palace. The guards looked at him suspiciously, but they let him in. When he stood before the king, Elijah spoke boldly. As surely as the Lord, the true God of Israel, lives, there will be no rain or dew in this land until I say so. Then, before Ahab could react, Elijah left. Soon, just as he had said, no rain fell. The rivers dried up, the crops failed, and people and animals began to suffer. But Elijah was not afraid. He trusted God completely. God told Elijah to hide near a small brook. There, he had fresh water to drink. But what about food? God had a plan. Every morning and evening, ravens brought him bread and meat. Elijah thanked God for taking care of him. But after some time, the brook also dried up. God then spoke to Elijah again, telling him to go to a town called Zarephath, where a widow would provide for him. Elijah obeyed and traveled to the town. As he entered, he saw a woman gathering sticks. "Please bring me some water," he asked her. As she turned to get it, he added, "And a piece of bread too." The woman sighed. "I have only a handful of flour and a little oil. I was going to bake one last meal for my son and me, and then we will have nothing left." Elijah smiled kindly. "Do not be afraid. Go ahead and make the bread, but first, make a small piece for me. God has promised that your flour and oil will not run out until the drought is over." The widow hesitated but decided to trust Elijah's words. She made the bread and gave him a piece first. Miraculously, her flour and oil never ran out. Every day, there was just enough for her, her son, and Elijah to eat. The woman began to believe in Elijah's God, the one true God. But one day, her son became very sick and stopped breathing. Heartbroken, she cried to Elijah, "Did you come here to punish me by letting my son die?" Elijah took the boy in his arms and carried him to his room. He laid him on the bed and prayed, "Lord my God, please bring this child back to life." He stretched himself over the boy and prayed again. Suddenly, the boy gasped and opened his eyes. He was alive. Elijah carried the boy downstairs. When the widow saw her son breathing again, she burst into tears of joy. "Now I know you truly are a man of God, and your words are true," she said. Elijah stayed with the widow and her son for some time, but he knew he had more work to do. The people of Israel were still suffering, and they needed to turn back to God. As he prepared to leave, he looked at the widow and her son, now full of faith and hope. He thanked God for showing his power and love through this family. Elijah walked away, ready to continue his mission. He knew that no matter what happened next, God was always in control. The showdown at Mount Carmel. After many months, God told Elijah to return to King Ahab. The drought had lasted for 3 years, and the land was dry and barren. People were desperate for water, but they still worshipped Baal. Elijah knew it was time to prove once and for all who the true God was. Elijah went to King Ahab and told him, "Gather all the people of Israel and the prophets of Baal at Mount Carmel. There, we will see who the real God is." King Ahab agreed, and soon, a great crowd gathered at the mountain. Elijah stood before them and said, "How long will you hesitate between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, follow him." No one answered. So Elijah challenged the prophets of Baal. "We will each prepare a sacrifice. You will call on Baal, and I will call on the Lord, the God who answers with fire. He is the true God." The prophets of Baal prepared their altar and cried out to their God. "Baal, answer us," they shouted. They danced, they sang, and they even cut themselves to show their devotion. But nothing happened. Elijah laughed. "Maybe your God is sleeping. Maybe he's on a journey. Shout louder." The prophets tried harder, but still, nothing happened. Then, Elijah prepared his altar. He placed the sacrifice on the wood and poured water over it 3 times until everything was soaked. Then he prayed, "Lord, let it be known today that you are the true God. Answer me so these people will turn back to you." Suddenly, fire fell from heaven. It burned the sacrifice, the wood, and even the stones of the altar. The people fell to the ground in awe. "The Lord, He is God," they cried out. Elijah commanded them to get rid of the prophets of Baal. Then he turned to King Ahab and said, "Go eat and drink, for heavy rain is coming." Elijah climbed to the top of the mountain and prayed. He sent his servant to look toward the sea. 6 times, the servant saw nothing. But on the 7th time, he saw a small cloud rising. Soon, the sky turned dark, and heavy rain began to fall. The drought was over. Elijah's final days and ascent to heaven. Elijah continued to serve God, and he found a young man named Elisha to be his helper and successor. Elisha followed Elijah everywhere, eager to learn from him. One day, God told Elijah that it was time for him to leave the earth. As he and Elisha walked together, a chariot of fire suddenly appeared, pulled by horses of fire. It swept Elijah up into the sky, and he disappeared into heaven. Elisha watched in amazement. He picked up Elijah's cloak, knowing that he had now been chosen to continue Elijah's work. The spirit of Elijah rested upon Elisha, and he went on to perform many miracles, just as his teacher had before him. Elijah's life was a testament to faith, courage, and the power of God. His story continues to inspire people today, reminding them that God is always in control and that those who trust Him will see His mighty works.